Doobie-da-ba-ba-ba. 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 Sperm Sisters.
This is a story about sisters, just not the kind that you're expecting.
3 years ago, we were strangers, living separate lives.
Now we know we're biological sisters, connected by the same sperm donor.
And that's just the beginning.
This podcast dives headfirst into the how, the why, and the uncomfortable questions no one seems to want to answer.
Uncovering secrets the medical world would rather keep buried. How many donor-conceived people are there really?
No one can give a straight answer. Not the clinics, not the system, no one.
So, how many siblings could be walking past us every day without a clue?
It's messy, it's shocking. At times, it's almost impossible to believe.
And somehow, it's also really funny.
Come with us as we dig deeper, ask the uncomfortable questions, and laugh our way through the chaos of discovering who we really are and just how many of us there might be.
Coming up on this week's episode of Sperm Sisters.
Today, we are going to be debunking the myths around donor conception. Are we excited?
Yes.
Can I get a fun?
It's going to be fun.
Here we go.
Helen and Gemma share their discovery story.
Oh, I was high as a kite, like so off my tits, which I think is a blessing, to be honest, because I wasn't sure whether it was actually happening or not.
We expose a darker side of sperm donation happening today.
Kind of a black market of Facebook sperm, where then you are going to get someone who is doing it with a bit of a god complex. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our Sperm Sisters podcast. My name's Helen. I'm the youngest out of these three donor-conceived sisters.
Yes, and I am Natasha, and I'm the oldest, with just 2 weeks apart from our middle sister, Gemma.
And that would be little old me. My name's Gemma, and I am the middle one. I like being a middle child. I've only been a middle child for a couple of years when I met you for the first time now. But this is an absolute dream, I must say. Last episode, we looked at the concept of identity, why there's a yearning to feel like you need to know where you're from, and perhaps all the little weird things that form your identity, you know, whether it's mannerisms or just kind of stories from your past or little breadcrumbs that have been trickled throughout your life to date. We touched on how we found out through trauma that we're donor conceived. That's how we found out in our adulthood lives. And bombshell, Helen and I are full sisters because we share the same donor, which is a beautiful turning point in the ethics of being donor conceived. We like to mark it as that. So hopefully you're all caught up. If you haven't listened to it, give it a listen on Spotify and YouTube. And I'm going to hand you over to my big sister now.
Okay, so are you ready, girls?
I'm so ready.
Right. I'm going to do it like myth by myth. So I'm going to be like, myth one, da-da-da.
Okay.
All right? Myth one.
God, straight in.
Donor conception is rare. So lots and lots of people still think that this is some sort of like weird fringe type of thing, donor conception, but it is much, much more common than a lot of people realise. I'm going to throw you a fact.
Go for it.
There is a study that's been published in the British Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology by the fantastic researchers at King's. And this study is the first systematic review of studies investigating the psychological experiences of donor-conceived people through both childhood and adulthood, and is the largest body of evidence for this group of people.
Okay.
So you ready for this? More than, actually no, you guys tell me, how many donor-conceived people do you think have been born in the UK since 1991 when records began?
How many?
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, if I'm going full maths head,
Yeah.
per donor is limited to 10 families. They each probably will have 2 children. That's 20 children per donor in the UK. How many donors?
Helen's sweating in the corner.
I think there would be 8,000. No,
Way more.
18,000. 18,000.
18,000?
1991.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reckon 18,000, Jem?
Oh, yeah.
50K.
50K? 70,000.
Since 1991.
Yeah, well, since 1991, when records first began.
Quick, interrupt
Yeah.
on something.
Yeah.
That stat only goes through people who have done it in the regulated sense. So have gone through the regulated medical channels of donor conception, as in going to proper sperm banks and clinics and everything.
Correct.
There's
Yeah.
obviously the very murky world of sperm donors.
Underground
available
sperm.
and the black market of Facebook sperm. Because some people can do that.
What?
Yeah, you can like buy sperm off Facebook, I believe. Sorry,
Have you been looking?
I look for my own. Yeah, because I watched a documentary on it on Channel
What?
4. And there's like some guy that drives to people's houses and sits in a little van, does his donation and gives it to the people. And that's completely unregulated. So yes, 70,000 regulated.
Well, look, with that stat in mind and with the dark underworld of Facebook sperm donations going on, did either of you ever meet a donor-conceived person before you ever found out that you were donor-conceived?
No,
No.
never.
I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
I, until recording the first episode, I only really learnt what it was. So, like in more detail.
Still got Google open. Just like-
No, I hadn't. Obviously, I mean, I met people who were adopted and had gone through all of that, but no one who was donor conceived. But I think maybe growing up, that's because they probably didn't even know themselves.
yeah.
Like I didn't know.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
didn't know?
for
That leads on quite nicely, actually, to myth number 2.
Okay.
Which is the donor will be registered as your legal parent. So some people think that if your DNA came from someone, then they're basically going to be your dad. But that is really not how it works. In fact, in the UK, donors are not legal parents, as the three of us know very, very well. They have absolutely no rights or responsibilities like custody or financial support. And that is defined in the donor regulation by the HFEA, which stands for...
The Human Fertilisation Embryology Authority.
Very good! You said the Human Fertilisation Embryology Authority.
Oh, I said authoritarian.
Yeah, which is the world we're living in. Yeah. But I was thinking about this as I was like writing down these myths and trying to find good ones to sort of like go through in this episode. And I wrote a little note to say like, how do you refer to our donor? Because when we...
Daddy.
Daddy. We don't refer to him like that. Because, like, I think sometimes it's quite... When I'm talking about my dad, some people go, which one?
Wow.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, they go... And I go, sperm dad. Or the sperm dad.
Yeah.
But it's just funny with the wording, right? Because it's like, well, sperm donor, really. He's not my dad. He didn't bring me up.
But you could say
interesting.
biological father.
Well, that would be a good way of doing it, yes.
I never think of it in that moment, though. I always just go, donor dad. I say donor dad.
I say sperm dad.
Yeah.
I think the language that donor conceived people formally use is like your social dad is who brought you up. So the one that's not non-biologically related to you. And then your donor is actually your... oh my God.
Spit it out.
Is actually your dad. But obviously dad has different connotations of what that word
Well,
means.
what is that? What does dad mean to you, Helen?
What does dad mean to me?
Wow.
It's very for me. That's like what a. Oh my God!
Glasses are falling off.
She's got tit sweat.
What does it mean to me? Don't know. Someone who would be in the like cultural home sense supposed to be like a protector, or a provider, which is very much not what
A donor
donor's job is to do.
or what they would ever sign up for.
Exactly.
Generally, yeah, that, yeah.
Yeah. I think like a unity, like a bond, just, I think just like the safety net of just love and support. That's what, to me, that's what a dad is.
Yeah.
But obviously, as I say, that is absolutely not what a donor does. They need to pay for their meal deal.
Yeah. I'd say. Myth number 3 is... I can't say this without laughing. Donor-conceived people struggle emotionally. Some people assume that we all have deep identity crises, but the research actually says something else, which I think is what I've mentioned in an earlier episode. One of the largest reviews ever done, now this was 50 studies with over 4,500 participants, all donor-conceived, found that donor-conceived adults and children have equal or even better well-being. Oh. And relationship warmth, which is quite lovely, than people conceived traditionally.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I always knew I was great. Edit that bit out. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I've got all of the links to this research. I'm not putting it out my arse. Like, I've got all of the links to this.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe because we've gone full circle. Maybe because we've gone through pretty harrowing stuff, like finding out potentially a bit of like a wobble, like what am I? Or it's just made you contemplate what makes you happy.
But also, I wonder when this research was done, because when we were all donor conceived, as we have learnt from previous episodes, the general advice was don't tell your children. But I wonder if, individuals' well-being is actually better if they're told earlier on in life.
I wonder if that's post-91.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a recent
because that's
study.
A lot of people to interview. Where
I would say, do you think at all processes of this donor-conceived world, have you been emotionally stable throughout the whole process? Negative.
Hard no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
No.
right.
Yeah.
To the point that I think it's interesting we've all developed the same coping strategy. If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yes.
I'm fine with it. I have a great time.
Yeah, I'm fine. But maybe that's right then.
Yeah, quite possibly. I quite like the bit where it said relationship warmth.
I like
Definitely got that.
Yeah. Okay, so my question to you both is, when you first learned that you were donor conceived, did you feel like it shifted your identity in any way, or was it just more of a curiosity?
Well, I think when we found out, there needs to be a little caveat there. Gemma and I both found out at exactly the same time, as I think we've briefly touched on before, in a moment of trauma. For multiple reasons. Tucking into a quiche, haven't been able to eat quiche since. But Gemma, you just have had a wisdom tooth operation.
I had this impacted wisdom tooth and they had to get it out. So I was high as a kite, like so off my tits, which I think is a blessing. To be honest, because I wasn't sure whether it was actually happening or not. So when we found out, I was like, wow, the colours in this room are amazing.
Look at all the flowers.
Look at all the flowers. But I do remember like a weird feeling of sort of like the ground opening up, or, in films where there's like the double lens thing where the person's getting closer to you, but also the background zooming away. Like one of those out of body things. That's how I felt when I heard. And I think I just kind of just sat there. You laughed, I remember.
Yeah, but that is my go-to to anything serious or uncomfortable. I will just laugh.
Funerals, anything.
Terrible.
Yeah.
For it. But just because I don't want to deal with any emotion at all. So it was so perfectly healthy. But it was just one of those things when you say, what's your question? Did it change?
Did it feel like it shifted your identity, or was it more for you just like curiosity to be like, I wonder who he is?
I think it hugely shifted the identity because it was so left field, didn't have any sort of time to comprehend it whatsoever. It felt like the rug was just completely pulled from underneath our feet. So it felt like a necessary, quick urge to find out what on earth is going on.
It was definitely like what I think it just felt like the deceit Like, why did you lie to us for so long? Like, why? What were you achieving, really? And then, so if this isn't true, what else isn't true? And I remember when we said to Mum, like, okay, like, you say you're a mum, but are you? You know, do you remember, like, we asked Mum to do a DNA test to be like, prove it.
I do remember that. And then I remember just like,
I know, it wasn't like in like a mean way. But
prove it.
Prove it, bitch.
Yeah,
But
I know.
we just kind of thought, well, accidents happen. Do we trust these people in the clinics to have put the right egg in the right pot? Did they use the right whisk? You know.
But is that also not where we were really confused at the beginning, which we kind of touched on the history side of things, that I don't think we were mixed in a dish at all. It was just that the sperm is then artificially inseminated.
I know that that's what Mum was telling us, but I still didn't believe it. I don't think I'm over it, actually, clearly. Next question.
Okay, so we've gone a little bit around that question, I think. So I'm gonna present with a new myth. Everyone wants to find their donor. That is a really big myth, that every donor conceived person really must want to find their donor. But wanting information and wanting a relationship with your donor are two very, very different things. So, slamming you with a big fact here. In the UK, donor anonymity was removed for donations after April 2005, meaning people born from those donations can in fact now request identifying information from the age of 18 though. So they can ask for the name of their donor as well as the date of birth if they want. But not everyone is going to do that. Even those who request that information aren't always guaranteed contact or a relationship. So when you both discovered that you were donor conceived and you were high as a kite, did you have an immediate want to try to find him? And if yes, why? What for?
I don't think it was immediate. I wanted to know after a week or two of finding out, when the dust had settled. I definitely couldn't think of anything else. But I think once the anger and the rage had simmered down and there was a bit more clarity, then that's when I wanted to find out, because I was just fascinated.
Fascinated about what though?
No, like, there's this bloke walking around and he has no idea that he's got a daughter. At that point, we didn't know that we had the same sperm donor. But then it was also kind of like, I think the weird thing for me is I found it really hard thinking, well, then we're not full sisters. And I really struggled with that because I didn't know any different. Because there's only 16 months between us. We've never known life without each other. Not that it matters whether you're a full sister or a half sister. Like, it doesn't matter to me in the slightest. It was just like the connection had been fractured a little bit, like it had been taken away from us. And I just remember thinking like, well, we've got to get answers, because where the hell are you from? Where the hell am I from? What is going on here? And I think it would be fascinating to find out where we're from, because it might answer some things like, you know, why do you sleep with your eyes open?
I do that. I wanted to know pretty much immediately, I'd say, because in my head, I was thinking, stats-wise, have I walked past him before? I mean, one of the stats in life, right? You walk past 3 murderers in your lifetime without knowing it. So
Is that an actual stat?
yeah, that's a true. Well, I mean, don't quote me on it, but I've definitely read that. That you walk past 3 murderers in your lifetime without knowing it. So if that's a stat, potentially have walked past him and not known it. That's really strange to me. And then I had a moment where I was thinking, you know, any time I was walking anywhere is that him? Does he look a bit like me? I would look in the mirror and and I would try and recognise like facial features. And then even looking at actors on TV, I would then be like,
In your dream.
does he, Robbie Williams? Daddy? Like anybody. I would be like, does he resemble me a little bit or no?
'Cause that is really, really well. Sorry to interject, but I remember, and this just, I still find it like really mad that this even was a thing. But I remember the day that I was told by my dad, who brought me up, I remember looking at his hands. Like he was sat on the sofa next to me, and I remember looking at his hands and thinking, I don't really like have any, like, what do I have from you?
Yeah.
Wow. And then it just so happened that I think it was on the same day or the day after that he actually told me. But isn't that like weird? Yeah. That it was just like at that period of time that I was like, what have I, like our hands, like I don't have any, you know.
Similarities.
Really
weird.
Yeah, I don't know. That was always a bit of a strange one for me. Oh, we have touched upon this in earlier episodes. And telling children later is the best approach. That's the myth. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. And that is a myth that keeping it sort of a secret really protects donor-conceived children. But research actually shows that really, really early openness about this tends to help, obviously. So according to a new major review published in the British Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, says that studies show donor-conceived people were told early in life about their conception tend to have better psychological outcomes than those who learnt later.
Oh, man.
Looking back, though, on kind of when you were told, how do you think the timing of when you were told shaped your experience of discovering that you're donor conceived?
Really difficult one to answer.
Yeah, and again, because it happened in trauma, so that wasn't good. But if we are looking at finding out later on in life versus younger, I wish I knew when I was younger, before my teens, I think. Because although arguably, I think I would have had an easier time in my teens because I wouldn't have questioned so much. Why am I so into art? Why am I dyslexic? And no one else in my family is. I wouldn't have struggled mentally so much with that had I thought that there was a possibility that someone out there would have been the genetic reason for it, because I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. It's probably because it's from there. And I probably would have gone about my day fine. So I wish I knew. It's tricky finding out in your 30s because I feel like the longer you leave it, the more deceit there is.
You keep saying about the word deceit.
You do.
You bring it up a lot.
I'm
and
angry.
It's really, and it's really, really interesting because like I see it the more and more we dig into this and the more we each individually do research, like that word comes up a lot for you when you talk about it. And yeah, I wonder like if we can throughout this.
That?
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
It's interesting to just hear how different people feel because I think like I don't feel like that. Like I'm not angry. I don't feel like it was deceit. I think that actually, like, let's just talk about our mums here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think that they were doing everything that they were being told to do in order to protect us. And I think, like, I just think of it like that. My mum would have done anything for me. And she only didn't tell me because she wanted to protect me, because that's what she was told was the right thing to do. And I think, like, as I kind of reflect on it and, you know, like, life is difficult. You know, some shit has happened for all three of us in like our own separate ways. But I'm like, I'm not angry. And even like at my father that brought me up, I'm not angry with him. Like, I actually think, you know, what a brave, for mum, what a fucking, our mums, what a fucking brave thing to have done. Like, in that, especially in like the early 80s, like this wasn't a common thing. And the worst thing about it is that they wouldn't have even told some of their closest friends or some of their closest family members, because literally they were told to not tell anybody. So if anything, like, I feel really sad for her. Like, I wish that I had the opportunity. The only reason why I feel angry or sad about it is actually, like, I wish that I had the opportunity to say to her, like, Mum, like, what a fucking amazing thing you did. Like, I'm so proud of you. And I hope that you know, like, that this was the best thing that you could have ever done for me. Like, you know, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And we are really lucky with how it's panned out for us. We are
the
really
three
lucky.
of us.
Yeah. Like, we're lucky with the outcome of everything. But I think maybe if we were coming from a different angle of, we tried to make contact with somebody and it had been a no, or a door slammed in your face, maybe we would then start to feel angry.
But I think only if you were seeking out a relationship, like you were seeking out further relationships, because I wasn't, like, I've said this before, but like I wasn't in it for finding sisters and like new best friends. Like that's not what I was in it for. But oh my God, like how bloody lucky am I that it turned out that way?
Yeah. I also don't feel angry about it really, but I instead now, for me, it just puts a lot of puzzle pieces together for me, where I'm like, oh, that does make sense. So I think, because I do feel like I've kind of always had an inkling that something wasn't quite right. I didn't know that it was that, but I definitely have always thought something wasn't quite right. So at least it kind of closed that chapter where I was like, that's what wasn't right.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
I think with the whole angry thing, I'm not angry at our parents for doing it. I get why, and you're told by medical professionals. I mean, they went to the top place in the world, apparently. I mean, I don't know if that's on the sign outside. But, you know, it was one of the top places to go. I'm just angry that someone had the audacity to play God and make money from it.
Right.
And the bit that makes me angry is who had the right to tell us that we were entitled to know where we're from, that we weren't entitled. How dare they? That's where I'm angry. I'm angry at the system. Shock. And I'm pissed off that people thought they could get away with it. No, that's just not fair. It's not fair. And it's not fair that we got to live, you know, we get to live our lives and be like, maybe I shagged a brother, or, you know, that kind of thing. Or like, I shouldn't have to go through my husband's ancestry results to double check that I'm not related to him.
Well bad. Well bad.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, these people are all fucking about in the glamorous retirement homes now, if they're still going, and they're living their best lives.
Well,
they took lots of people's money and left the debris behind. And I'm angry that also people are still trying to be hushed now. Like, there are people who have tried to sue.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah. There are people who have tried to sue clinics, everything, and because there's so much money behind these fertility clinics, saying like, we would never do that. Oh, we didn't do it. You know, there's so much cover up that's going on behind.
Sperm donorship doesn't happen in the NHS.
Does it not?
I don't know. That's a question.
So it says, yes, you can get a sperm donor through the NHS, but it's not universally guaranteed and depends heavily on your medical circumstances and your local care board. So the eligibility and criteria would be a medical need. So typically, if you're a heterosexual couple where the male partner's infertile, then you can qualify. If you're then a same-sex couple or a single woman, some NHS trusts indicate that they support same-sex couples and single women with donor sperm, but others suggest that it may not be fully funded. But waiting times and availability, obviously, there is now a shortage of donors in the UK, which will affect availability, probably because it's not anonymous anymore.
Yeah.
So that has like cut down. And that's another ethical thing that we kind of need to delve into later on in another episode, that it's like, because all these laws and regulations have now come into place, that's complete. It's all. I'm not, by the way, not saying it was better in the 70s or 80s at all, but because these laws and regulations have come into place, that's now made the pot or the banks much lower on sperm. So then you're seeing a rise in actually super unsafe, unregulated things, like kind of a black market of Facebook sperm, where then you are going to get someone who is doing it with a bit of a God complex.
Right.
Oh my God.
Whereas it's not, whereas before it was just for cash.
Our guy for cash.
Oh, mate. Cash.
Amen. Okay, so look, here's the bottom line. According to science and lived experience, donors aren't parents in the legal or social sense. Wanting information and wanting a relationship with your donor, two very, very different things. We'll get into that in later episodes. Early openness that you are donor conceived generally definitely helps with one's well-being later on in life. And this whole subject, donor conception, is way more common than people actually think. So, on that note, send us your thoughts, your myths, your stories, because we are literally just getting started. We are real, unfiltered, and definitely not a myth.
God, I got chills now.
Very good. Did you write that?
ChatGPT. God bless.